Hi, everyone, and welcome to the fifth and sixth module for GRA 2200. This is the last week of the class. I think we have like 8 days and several hours. And I know a lot of you are either finished or getting very close to being finished. Some of you are struggling as well. And so we will look at both sides. My intent in the class is to get you through and to help you understand responsive web design and responsive uh, or Flexbox CSS. And we'll talk about that a little, actually quite a bit today. It's part of your live discussion question. Also today, we'll talk about part two of the volcano responsive site. You will be creating a drive-in persona, which I'll explain. You have the live discussion question, which is about responsiveness and CSS. And then we'll talk more about prototyping, sharing what you've prototyped with your client, uh, essentially creating an animation or a video with animation to share with that client. Last week, you created part one of the volcano responsive site. And this is an actual volcano that is in Northern California. It's called, I think it's called Lassen Peak. And it's very active and tends to be extremely threatening to the people in that area. So this is an actual uh, need that this particular area has is an early warning system. And so this is one way to perhaps take care of that as far as design. If you notice, we're using Greeking, we're not really using actual text. So last week you did essentially an HTML response site, and it looked a lot like this. Hopefully it did. This week you will work to create the part two, and you also can go ahead and do part three, and it'll put you a little further ahead. Um, Part two and part three exist in CodePen, and I have them available to you if you want to use the code. Remember, code is open source, and so um, you don't have to credit it. You don't have to do essentially anything except use it. Now, you don't want to use a, an artist's design, photographs, that kind of thing, but you can certainly use code. Let me show you where the volcano site 2 and 3 exist. This is um, this is 2, and I won't, go through it all with you. You can see a lot of, if not most of it. As you can see, it's all scrollable and it's readily available to be copied and pasted. You will need a text editor, or you could use Dreamweaver as well. This is again 2, and let's give you the boot. And let me see if I can do this. It has been such a long flippin' day, hasn't it? Um, I don't know, maybe you've had a swell day. I hope you have. So this is CodePen and this is Volcano 2. And then let's go to 3. And it's very, very similar. It's been shortened and kind of made smaller and leaner, if you will. Now, um, all of the connections or all of the navigations will get you somewhere like this because um, we're using, things that are not real. We're still using, except with CodePen, we're still using text that is Greeking. So don't be surprised if every link is this. Um, okay, so let's go back. And this is how the early warning system software is meant to look, and which is, I think, fairly engaging and very easy to read and use. Also, you're going to be creating this week to go with the drive-in theater um, website. It's not part of the website, but it is part of the conceptual aspect of the drive-in theater website. I've noticed also that some of you are changing the name. If you change the name, you also need to change, or you also need to create a logo of some kind. With the Gauga logo and the Gauga web name, you can reuse the logo that they use if you like. But if you're calling it, Bob's Drive-In Theater and Hat Emporium, then you've got to create a logo for that. This is the drive-in persona, and it's actually kind of fun to do. It's not necessarily um, difficult at all. You have to essentially design it, but what you're doing is you're profiling, in this case, one person that would enjoy the drive-in theater experience. And I've given you, obviously, I laid out something really quick. You must have a photo, the name of the person, and this is all conjecture and makeup. So, Bob Smith, the basic personal statistics, age, maybe where Bob lives. Is he married? Is he single? Approximate age will get you that. Some background about him, maybe his parents took him to the drive-in when he was a kid and he really liked it. And then his needs and his wants. And to help you, I've got 3 that I kind of put together. Spontaneous Sarah is a young woman in her late 20s. And the photo idea is she's looking at her laptop. Uh, she has, as far as a bio or demographic, she's a young professional, urban, suburban, 25 to 30 years old. She wants, or her goal is to have a unique and cozy friends night away from home. Her frustrations are sold out shows, poor audio quality, complicated ticket apps, and limited menu options. And then you can go here and see what her behavior needs are. And a quote, let's find a cool last minute drive-in show for Friday. Then you have a similar persona, only this is a male in his 20s, and his photo idea is him holding a smartphone. Uh, and then you can read all of this. And then finally, nostalgic Nancy. She's a senior, a woman in her 60s looking happy. What does that look like? Looking happy. I guess smiling, that kind of thing. Um, she's 60 plus, retired, loves classic movies. She has goals, frustrations. She's going to need high contrast, large font, user interface on the website, and she wants a simple booking process with fewer steps. And then, of course, she has a quote. I wish they played more classic films. So, the persona is 5 inches tall by 8 inches wide at 150 dpi. This is what you must have, which really is already spelled out in the examples I gave you. It's really kind of fun to put together. It gives you a chance to design. You could design in a similar fashion as your design for the drive-in. Same color palette if you like, whatever you want. This is completely your control. Make it whatever you want to make it. One persona only. Okay, not a male and female, that kind of thing. All right, so we are going faster than I anticipated, which is a good thing. I was look 12. Ooh, we're blazing. Let me see if I can. No, no, no. Let's stay here. You just stay big. Um, Sometimes that thing won't minimize like it's supposed to, and it lurks in the back. Um, so hopefully it's not too distracting. Your module 5 assignment is the high fidelity prototype of the drive-in movie site. Facts to remember: XD creates or makes creating static wireframes easy. And they are, whether they are low or high fidelity. We have a good idea because we're designers how one screen transitions to another on the website. But a client may not understand that, particularly when it comes to buttons and navigation. So this prototype interaction that you're building is basically for that client, showing him, for instance, navigation, changing elements based on time, and creating slideshows. Again, all of the interaction can be handled through the prototype mode. Okay, so editing your existing drive-in theater high fidelity prototype is based on any new information you gleaned from creating that one persona. By creating that persona, did it change things? Did it make you think, well, now wait a minute? If this is kind of a typical viewer, say the young woman, she's going to want a secure area, obviously. She's going to want, for instance, she doesn't want to put one of those big speakers in her car. She probably wants to keep her car or truck closed and try to get the sound for the movie on her radio. And that they've been doing that for years, and it creates a really nice ambiance, especially if you have a good radio. Um, did this persona that you created? Did you see a change in the layout of your website, or perhaps the content, the organization of information? For instance, think about Nancy, the nostalgic, happy senior. um, will this drive-in that you're designing, will it accommodate her? Oops, dropped the old glasses. Will it be usable to her? Or will she just throw up her hands and, not come to the drive-in? You don't want that to happen. You also want uh, ticket prices indicated and screening time on that home page or wherever you have the movies listed. So what's going to happen is you've got the space to create your home page, your about page, your third page, but you've got to add now a fourth page for typical concessions. This is what you have to have, this list here of different food products. I would encourage you to add some photos with this because this particular page of the website, and I would actually think it's either the third or the fourth page, most likely the fourth page. Um, you're going to have photos, I think, that not of every one of these things, but maybe popcorn, hot dogs, candy, soft drinks, that kind of thing. 4 or 5 photos that you need to dig around and find. And you're going to also build this particular page as a scrollable page. There's actually several features on this particular page. Um, and so let me kind of roll that out for you. First of all, let me see. I think I have. Really? I don't care about that. Why do you put that there? Um, I thought I had XD open. Yeah, I do. Okay, so let's say you are working. Let's see if I can go to. Come on now. Let's see. I should have it where I've already got the sample of all the pages. I know it's in your Module 4 folder. Let's use the bookshop just to, well, there it says it is, but I think it's low res maybe. Yeah, I want you to work in high res, obviously. Okay, here's one that obviously has a scrollable page, and it needs a scrollable page here. All of the other pages are accommodating the information in the navigation. But this is not. It just doesn't have the room. So looking at this particular, let's move you over a bit and then make you a little smaller and then get you out of the way. There you go. You're going to have several things on this particular page. And again, we're not talking specifically about the bookstore page, but the drive-in. The drive-in is your master project for this particular um, course, essentially. Get over here. Okay, so let's look first of all at a carousel because you're going to have to build a carousel. And that will be, uh, first of all, do you know what a carousel is? I assume you do. There are several that you can use or actually, um, well, utilize, I guess, in XD. And the easiest one to build is the horizontal scroll, where literally the photos change position back and forth along like a horizontal grid that you cannot see. So let me kind of take you through it and then I'll show you how it works. Again, we're going to be using the book site. First of all, put your images in a row. Let's say, I think you're required to have 3 images, but in this case, you import, well, maybe you do need that many. No, I don't think so. I think it's specifically 3. Okay. Align them side by side horizontally so that you have a little bit of spacing, equal distance spacing between the artboards, and then group them together so that XD assumes that this is one long strip of imagery, because it technically is. Then you group it like we talked about just now, and then you go to the design mode. And I'm going to show you how you do this here in just a second. But I want to talk you through it. It's not that hard to do, really. In the right panel, click the scroll group icon with the left right arrows, the horizontal scroll. So let's go over to XD. Now, in the right panel, which is this panel right here, and you'll have to do some digging to find it, but basically, you're going to essentially tell XD that you're going to be creating a carousel or a group of images that are horizontally laid out that will move left and right through the image area. Like this, let's say you got 3 of these. Instead of being, spread out like this, you've got 3, and I would make them all the same size. It's a lot easier that way. And then you would set them up literally like, let's see if I can do one real quick. Let's just kind of throw it together super quick and make it kind of teeny. Now, you've put your photo here, okay? And you want these 3 images to work together. So how do I do this? I mean, how will I be able to take this one artboard and then create a series just like we did here, where you pick up everything and then you've got space when you want to move it that, you can change inside. Um, do you see what I'm saying? Let me show you something that this is a little just a video tutorial that Adobe sends with their product. Let me see if I can find it. I'd never seen it before, but it sort of made things a little easier. Let's try this. Okay. It doesn't have any real sound, but it can do the movements for us. You're going to be prototyping a carousel using horizontal scroll. And this is animated to show you how this is done. And it's very nicely animated. If you start in the design mode, you select your objects, turn it into a scrollable group, just like you're seeing up here. And then you can preview the entire thing by selecting the arrow to the right. See if it'll do. You see that? How you can kind of, it's very easy to manipulate. Did I say right? I meant left. Sheesh. Um, and that's a great horizontal scroll carousel. It's a wonderful piece. Okay. Now, what about if you want a vertical scroll effect? A vertical is just like a horizontal, except obviously it goes in a different direction. So you set it up where it's on your artboard and it's fitting on your artboard. You go to the property inspector and tell it to scroll up and down with those little, you see that right there? Oh, come on. These little arrows essentially say vertical scroll or horizontal scroll. And that's all you have to do to guide XD to do essentially what it's doing right there. It's very, very simple. Now you can also create a horizontal and vertical effect. I, I don't know. It's not that I don't like it. I think it's a little, I don't know, it's a little overwhelming. You see it though a lot now. This horizontal and vertical scroll effects, where you're putting the scroll and the vertical effects together. And the place you see it the most is with Google Maps, and you see it a lot on real estate sites where you've got a map of the area of where the house is. And this is just an image, and it's a still image. It's not uh, animated or anything, but it's a still image of the house. And then this you can use, usually it's a two-finger thing, and you look at the neighborhood and that kind of thing. And then there's built in there a horizontal scroll where if you click on, say, a button or an arrow, it'll switch to Street View in Google Maps, which is kind of cool. But you have to have the right application. It works great in real estate sites. I've been looking at a house. We need to anyway, and I've noticed that a lot of these real estate sites work really well. They have other XD characteristics, and so I'm assuming that it's XD. Now I go into the code and look the source code, and you can usually tell there are some clues there. Um, but this is basically all you're doing, and it's kind of funny because students get so freaked out by this, and then they realize it's not difficult at all as long as you know about your buttons. These little guys. Whoop, and basically just make sure you're creating the right button for the right movement. This is auto animating, which basically means once I tell it, I can either auto animate it where it'll run by itself, like this, or dragging it back and forth. But you'd have to identify it as a drag, a horizontal drag. This is really a neat little, just a way to see what's happening. It's a great way to also keep this open and step through what you're doing along with this. I like the horizontal scroll, I think, more than the vertical, only because I think it's a little more powerful in the design overview, especially when you're doing a menu type thing. The New York Times has an incredible cooking uh, department, I guess, or section editorially, and they have a horizontal scroll that is just so cool. because they also have some code that allows you to click, say I want to look at this plant. I can click on this and it will zoom up and take an area about like that. And this will still be able to be scrolled back and forth. There is a manual scroll on the New York Times cooking page, and I kind of like the auto animate a little better. And that way, if the person's really looking at, something that they may want to buy or they may want to study or like a house, uh, it it will also be auto animate, but it will be easily still. You can click on it and it'll stop. And then you can study, whatever the house is or whatever you're looking for. Okay? So do go to this site and just follow the steps. They're very, very, very simple. Remember, you're going to be prototyping this, but you're going to start in the design mode. And then you're going to go to the property inspector, and that's those little arrows. And then the viewport, when it sees you click on those arrows, it adjusts its dimensions to provide like an instant preview experience. Okay? So it's really, again, the horizontal effect is the easiest. So you might want to really consider checking that out. Okay, so let's go back. What about if you, like in the book that, or the book website that we were looking at, what if you don't have scrollable pages anywhere except one page? Is that even a doable thing? And of course, yes, it is. Again, you'll use a single artboard and you'll scroll group for the middle scrollable area, which means you're going to set up a non-scrolling page first with your header and your footer and your navigation, and maybe if you've got some background elements, anything that should not move. First, you set that up, okay? And then they're called fixed elements. Then you're going to, in the right panel, which is the property inspector again, you're going to go in and you're going to check fix position when scrolling. Very, very easy to do. From there, you've got to build your scrollable middle section. And again, your scrollable section will not be at the very top of the page, but in the middle. Okay, you want it to look like the scrollable area is like a window into a special sort of content area. And you'll understand what I'm saying when you see the scrolling. Inside that rectangle that you're bounding as your scrollable area, you place all the content that you should scroll. Your images, your text. In your case, with the concessions, you'll probably have a title like concessions. You'll have text describing the object, and then you'll probably have several photos, maybe a price list, something like that. You'll bring all of that into a group, okay? Just like before with the non-scrolling, it has to be grouped as well. Okay, so then you've got, first of all, you've got the non-scrolling page, and it's all in one page, obviously, right there. Then you'll build this scrollable middle section, and it will be grouped as a separate group. You've got the movable group and the non-movable group. Then you make the overall page non-scrollable. And you're going, what? Wait a minute. In the Properties panel, set scrolling to none. Okay, so only the scroll group moves, not the entire page. So it's sort of like you've got this page and it's set up and it's set. It's as set in stone as the first page, second page, and so on. Except you've got built in to that page, in the middle of that page, you've got a scrolling area. And that little area is separate from your page, essentially, at least according to XD. It sees that one non-scrollable page with the navigation and the headers and the footer and, all of that. And then what you need to do is preview that to make sure the mobile preview and all of the scrolling happens in that middle section. Only that section should scroll while the top and the bottom stay fixed. And it sounds so complicated, and it's not at all. Absolutely not at all. There is a little video. Let me see if I've got it here. Let me just play it real quick. And again, it's, where are you? There you are. The audio's really quiet. I think the music is not very loud.
Hi guys, welcome back to InQT Tutorials. On this video, I will show you how to create a quick and easy working scroll bar in Adobe XD. First, we need an element to contain the information that will scroll up and down. The text needs to be longer than said element, and the scroll bar itself. First, we duplicate the container element and send it to the front. Now, selecting this element and the text, we right-click and select Mask with Shape. Select all these elements, right-click and select Make Component. After this, on the right sidebar you will see new options. Next to the default state, click on the plus sign and select New State.
Do you remember early on, I told you that components all they were reusable elements like boxes and that kind of thing. And in this case, you've got a default state for that scrollable area. You built a mask already, and you've got that box that will contain whatever you want it to contain. So this will just sort of be in your library of components, and you can always just pull it and play with it or use it.
Label this state as down, referring to when the scroll bar is all the way down. With the state down selected, click on the scroll bar and drag the scroll bar all the way down, along with the text. Send it back to default state and duplicate the whole screen. In the second screen, send the component to the down state. Now we prototype. For this, I would like to offer two options to scroll. Either by just tapping on the scroll and it moving by itself all the way down and all the way up, and also the option to drag the scroll bar yourself. For this, we double click on the first screen component and only select the scroll with the following settings: trigger and tap, action type and auto animate, destination, the down state, easing in, ease out. Select the whole component and change the state to down and add the same animation with the same setting, but with default state as destination. We go back to default state, click on the scroll again, Then click the plus sign. Now we're adding a second interaction. This interaction type will be drag. Action type will be auto animate, destination the second screen, and easing and ease out. Now go to the second screen and do the same thing, only sending the interactions to either the default state or the first screen, just as I'm doing. When that's done, we can see how it looks. Looks great! If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Hope
Okay.
you enjoyed this video, and I will see you
Yes.
next time.
See you later.
Bye!
Okay. Um, she did a few other things that you wouldn't necessarily need to do every time. But she made a pretty decent scrollable area that you could certainly reuse, and that's kind of what you want to focus on. Um, can I make it a component, and can I reuse it? You know, it's almost like building a library of actions and things like that. Now, I also have information for you about recording your video. And but I don't want to bog you down with all this. We've got about 15 minutes, and I've got some other things that I want to just quickly cover with you. Um, so I will make a separate, very short little video about I've got it prototyped. I love how it looks. Now I have to record it. And basically, what you're going to be doing is set it up to record, and XD records very easily and very quickly. And what you do is you demonstrate your connections to your client. Essentially, you're going to click on the first page. Maybe your logo is up at the top left or top right, and it has like an animation of a star that comes out of the logo, something lame like that. But you want to show that to the client. It's the same thing, and you probably never had to do a demonstration or a presentation to a client, but they sit there and they look at, up until now, they've looked at boards, like highly designed, highly detailed boards on like a Bristol board that shows type and everything, but it's all hand drawn. Very, very effective. Um, Now you can actually show the page itself with the movement. And that's what you're going to be doing. And I've got a little video that I made for you that shows you how to do it. It's super easy. And it's also very gratifying once you get it done. You go back and look at it and say, wow, that really looks very professional, because it is. So, uh, anyway, you can duplicate artboards for other non-scrolling pages that need a scrolling middle. You can always do that. You're going to keep the fixed header and footer and the scroll settings, but you can change the actual information, the photos, the designs, whatever you have there. You can create, after you've tested your prototype, you create an online design review and an MP4 of you demonstrating your site. You don't have to have any audio, but you can if you want it. And that's what I have that I'm going to circulate to you most likely tomorrow, just to show you that you can do this. It's very simple, very easy, and I'll probably use that Gauga drive-in to show it, to actually demonstrate it. Okay, so this just tells you how to do the recording on Windows computers. It doesn't always just work like a native recorder. Uh, if you have trouble with this, let me know. I've also indicated a link. I think this is it. Come on. I think it's here. I'll double check and make sure it's working for you. Um, but I'd rather you just see my video. So I'll just put it out and you'll have that. Okay. Okay. It's shorter and I think it's a little more uh, to do with what you're trying to do and not just, you know, just random or very generic. One thing you will remember, your artboards will not change, but your tools will disappear. And that's because everything that you're going to be doing happens in the pasteboard, linking elements from one artboard, of course, to the others. And prototyping is all about interaction, so it's easier to show than to tell. And that's what I hope I can show you tomorrow in the final little video. Uh, Not only you've got it prototyped, you've got it ready to go, here's what you do next. Now, in Module 6, you have you can probably do this work this week if you have the time. In the final week, you will complete a quiz on usability testing. The biggest problem students have with this is they forget to do it. So be sure you look at it and lock it in. And then the volcano usability testing third phase. And let's see. I think there's just a little thing on Module 6 that just has this quiz. It's a very simple, easy quiz. So be sure you find it before you turn in everything and stop with your work. I have graded most of the work, and most of it, again, is excellent. If you're having trouble way back with Module 2, then the biggest thing you need to concern yourself with is moving away from Module 2. Um, and a lot of you are, like I mentioned earlier. So I will make available the museum exhibit um, code, and it'll be responsive. A lot of you are doing the code and you're doing it pretty well, but you don't make the actual site responsive. Like you have really big photos, and as I look through the code, I see that you may have made it responsive, but you haven't saved it as such because those photos do not change. Or you have the photos very, very small and they don't change either. So I will make sure everyone has a copy of the correct code. so that you can copy it, put it in, again, the text editor with photos that you want to use, and be done with that. The other thing that I've noticed is there aren't a huge number of the bookshop assignments, so be sure and get that done. Don't get bogged down with that either. Um, Make sure that you choose, for instance, a body copy size and font that looks good, and then use that body copy font all over that uh, design for that website. Choose your headers or your headlines, font and color and size across the board. If you're doing color backgrounds, and a lot of you are, you've got to look very closely at that background color because a lot of them are overtaking your body copy or they're changing the color of your photos, making them either very dark or very light. So be very careful about that. What else do I need to tell you? Um, that's really all that I have for you. Again, I think from what I can tell, the beginning of prototyping is looking really good. It's very intuitive. That was the big selling point of XD when it first came out. It was very intuitive. Sometimes intuitive doesn't work or doesn't become as popular as you would think. You know what I'm saying? Adobe came out with a product several years ago. I guess it was 10 years ago, maybe, called Muse, Muse, and it was the most wonderful little piece of software. You could literally put every page together like you would in Illustrator or InDesign. You didn't worry about code. You didn't care about code, but you had a fine time with the design. Unfortunately, uh, developers would get hold of your work and say, there's like half of this is trash code. It's like duplicated code, code that you don't need. And that was a software issue, um, you know? So that became a real problem and they no longer have it, unfortunately. And I think the same thing is happening to XD. I think Figma has taken over as far as the usability of this type of software. The other thing that I encourage you to do is when you're stuck with some code, you can't figure it out. I don't know what I don't know what I guess you'd call it AI you're using, if you're using it at all. Uh, Ask it to do the code for you. Hey, whatever your name is, hey Bob, the IT guy in Chat GPT, make me a layout and then explain how such and such works. For instance, like Flexbox, that kind of thing. Give it something to crunch, and then it'll give you incredible code. Let me show you, if I can, really quick, the live discussion that is, uh, come on, that is something you're going to be doing, obviously, this week. And where are you, drive? Live discussion. Where are you? Where are you? Here you are. Okay, and here it is. Now, you look at it and you go, what? She wants me to write a paper? No, absolutely not. but I am trying to show you as easily as possible how to explain Flexbox. If you understand Flexbox, you understand responsiveness, you also understand the premise of CSS, and that is to make things work more seamlessly and easier. So this is a great explanation by this young woman in college. I think she's at Stanford. I'm not really sure. And then this is another really good example of what you're doing when you're playing around with a responsive layout system. Okay? The core Flexbox idea is explained here. And I've given you code that you can save and use over and over again for responsiveness, including Flexbox with media queries. So your actual question is not that big a deal. And let me show you where it is. I am using the trackball today because my mouse died, so I've got to get a new mouse. And soon, because I hate this stupid. And I digress. In this live classroom, I want you to answer this question about Flexbox. I want to know what it is, how it affects the site you're designing, and how it governs responsiveness. So you come right down here, and this little section, this little um, sentence really tells you basically everything you need to know about Flexbox. It's a layout system that arranges items in a row or a column and lets them grow, shrink, and wrap like text wrapping or wrapping around an image. So your layout adapts smoothly to different screen sizes. Okay? So don't be intimidated by this as far as, so much information, but do save it. I think it could help you with later classes. Okay, so that is that. And I am going to end here. Thank you. And again, if you have any questions at all, you know my contact information. You can also leave a message, and a lot of you do, and I appreciate that. So take care, have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk soon. Take care.